In your opinion, what are the biggest problems in Arizona?
I think a problem that I've recently come to realize, and is much more pervasive than I thought, is the injustice that has been done to all the Native Americans on this land.
In your opinion, what are the biggest problems that Arizona is facing today?
The politicization of the pandemic, the complete polarization of our political system, putting kids in cages on the border, mainly Doug Ducey, everything he's ever attempted to introduce to the state. Kristen Sinema's turned out to be a gigantic mess. What else you got?
In your opinion, what are some of the biggest problems that Arizona is facing today?
So I think one of the main problems that we're facing within the state of Arizona, as well as the country in general, is just a lack of education on what's going on in tribal communities, as well as the complexities of tribal law and the responsibilities of the United States government in regards to its treaty obligations. And because of that, it's actually allowed a lot of disenfranchisement of our communities that kind of bleed into our communities that are on the reservation as well as off the reservation. And for my opinion, this is an issue that's not really being talked about too much, not really being discussed about, except beyond the realms of other Native people talking about it. And all that's fine and dandy, like it's important to kind of start ground up. But the thing is these are issues that we as Native people have been conversing about for forever now, man. Like my grandparents have been fighting these issues, going back to like the 70s and 80s. But yet nothing has really been done. You know what I mean? No progress there has been a little bit of progress made, but there hasn't been as much as we would like to see.
I'm taking a course about indigenizing food systems and all of the systemic problems that we're facing with food insecurity and droughts and poor soil quality and air quality have all come from the capitalistic ideals from patriarchy and white supremacy that the United States is founded upon. And so now learning about the indigenous foodways and just in general the indigenous ways of life, they know how to take care of the land because they've been here for thousands of years. And yeah, I think that those people are so underrepresented and they need all the justice that they can get.
I think that's a piece of the conversation that doesn't really get talked about too much when we talk about bringing up the Native community, whether that be in urban areas or reservational areas. But in reality, if you're able to kind of help alleviate our problems, that success and the fruits of that labor would then spread out to a lot of the other communities that surround our reservations. So a lot of our border towns like Gallup, Flagstaff, Page, Winslow. I mean, a lot of those places, they would benefit economically speaking if reservation systems were more economically stable, as well as if Native people had the resources and the support that they need in regards to maintaining their sovereignty. And then honestly, we'd have a lot more resources if we didn't have to keep fighting for our sovereignty. Because I mean, literally, if you look at the Indian Child Welfare Act, I learned about that when I was first getting into college, and it was being attacked, and then it just got attacked again about a year or two ago, and it's still actually on the board right now, or rather on the docket that needs to go through court and get a settlement on it to determine whether or not it's actually constitutional or if it's not constitutional. So it's just things like that, man, that really kind of affect the indigenous community, because again, we know this stuff already. It's just the outer community doesn't, and our communities are so small, man. As strong as we are and as powerful as we are as warriors, we just can't fight this fight just by ourselves, man. We need all different kinds of communities. We need Black communities, Latino communities, Chicano communities, other various indigenous communities, Asian communities. I mean, we just need support from everyone, essentially, because I mean, in the ways that other groups have support, I feel like we as Indigenous people don't have that same level of support, as well as the same level of resources that are available to us.
Not only us, but also small communities outside, including states, and even help a lot more when it comes to development as well. So it's also that issue what you brought up, but also the fight along with making sure that the progress is keyed in issues that will help us instead of being window-washing.
In your opinion, what are some of the biggest problems that Arizona is facing today?
I'm really concerned about the impending drought that we're having. Our water sources are drying up, and it makes me, like, that alone makes me want to leave this place.
In your opinion, what are some of the biggest problems that Arizona is facing today?
I think, well, Arizona's well known already for being a very hot state, but I think because of climate change, it's getting a lot more warmer. In the past, like, couple years, I've seen because usually during New Year's, from what I've experienced, it's usually in the 30s in the evening, but progressively over the years, it's been getting warmer, and this last New Year's Eve was like 50-something degrees, and I feel like that's very odd, and people aren't paying attention to it enough. It's hitting 70s in January, and that is very unusual, even for Arizona, even though we're warm. So I feel like we need to work on climate control, for sure. We have a lot of concrete everywhere, since we're like a flat city in Phoenix, there's a lot of concrete, a lot of asphalt everywhere, and a lot of people drive. So carbon emissions make it a lot more warmer. I hope at some point you can find a way to regulate it so it's not as hot and it's more local. Yeah, solar energy, like ASU so far. Yeah, we're in Arizona, there's a lot of sun. ASU's already starting by having a lot of solar panels and stuff. Even though it's expensive, I think it's really worth it because in the long run, it saves money and you don't want to die. It saves the planet, we're alive. So if you can find a way to regulate the temperature and save energy and make clean energy as well, I think that will help.
This has to be serious, right?
Huh? It can be either or. Yeah.
Don't laugh.
Okay, I'm trying not to think of something funny. What's something serious? What is something serious? The housing crisis.
The housing crisis.
The housing crisis.
There's a lot of people who have earbuds and they can't hear people behind you, like either scooters or like bicycles.
Right.
I'm deaf, and the scooter went by me, hit my arm really bad, and I had to go ER because my blood clot
Okay.
was in there. So I prefer how the people who are on scooters or bicycles on the street, not on the sidewalk.
Yeah.
So that's all I complained about.
In your opinion, what are the biggest problems that Arizona is facing today?
Well, when I think about just like problems in Arizona, the one that comes to mind first because it's very close to my heart is just like I think of a problem how like because I grew up in South Phoenix, which is very like low income. A lot of people would consider it the hood, right?
In your opinion, what are the biggest problems that Arizona is facing today?
I think as humans, we were meant, and I was actually just telling him about this, we were meant to like talk to people on a daily basis and interact with people that we don't know at all. And I think that bigger cities like this, it's easy to kind of fall into the background.
You know, in areas of money, like I said before, like being in Tempe, a lot of people out here have money, right? So when you only experience that perspective, like you can't know the other perspective, like you see it, but you've never experienced it, and you learn a lot from experiences. Like that's when you really like when you're down bad. Like if you're abandoned, you understand abandonment. Like you can't understand abandonment when someone tells you abandonment.
In your opinion, what are some of the biggest problems that Arizona is facing today?
Infestation of
Besides like drought?
bugs.
Yeah, bug
Besides
infestation.
drought, yes.
Definitely.
We have roaches,
Arizona bark scorpions, those things, the most
American
venomous.
roaches,
Yeah.
Oriental roaches, German roaches,
Ants,
German
black
roaches.
widows, brown recluses.
crickets everywhere. There's tons of crickets.
The bark scorpions, those are the most venomous scorpions in the United States.
Gonna buy a ticket now, as far as I can. Ain't a never coming back.
Jump in it. You want to leave your IG tag?
Yeah, bro. Feel me? Like, I gotta show them from the phone. 1 reader, 2 R's at the end. Yeah, going up.
Oh yeah.
2022.
What kind of music you make?
Hip hop.
Yo,
I'm
hip hop.
dropping February 9th.
Can you drop something right now?
Stylist. No,
Yeah.
it's a secret right now. February 9th.
Hush, hush. Thanks so much, man. In your opinion, what are some of the biggest problems that Arizona is facing today?
Well, the first thing that comes to mind is inclusion and diversity. I know that like the state's working on it as a whole, but I feel like there is a lot more to be done in the progress, but just a lot needs to change. And then also just education. Public education is really bad in Arizona, and it like hurts to see. I had a lot of really good teachers in high school, but like they were just so miserable because of just how like messed up the education system is in Arizona, and they don't get a lot of funding. And so I think that needs to change a bunch. Yeah.
I heard a lot growing up that Arizona was one of like the worst states when it comes to education. Well, at least like primary and secondary education. College-wise, it seems like our colleges are fine. We're doing pretty well. On a college level, we're doing great, but we're not taking care of the foundational education that we're supposed to be, taking care of. So I think we should probably work on education, like you said. Yeah. Like if you don't have a good foundational education, you're not going to be encouraged to go to higher education in the first place. ASU is a good school, but like if you look at the statistics when it comes to who's from where, I feel like we have a lot of students from out of state and internationally. Like we have a lot of in-state students, but I feel like it could be better. It could be better if we encourage more kids to stay in school instead of dropping out, or just go get a good degree, even if it is like psychology or sociology or even gender studies. No shame to any of those things, but it's still something to like get your education and specialize in something for the future.
Yeah, whether it's 10 City or Shared Jar Arpaio or SB 1070, I think Arizona's shown us time and time again that it has plenty and plenty of things to work on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the first step should be standard human kindness, even if it's just wearing a mask. It's be an adult. Like, look out for your fellow people. Yeah, they're uncomfortable, but we wear them because we're trying to look out for other people. However, half the people in the state think you're a communist if you wear one, and there's no going back from that.
How do you think that we can bridge that gap in solidarity?
I guess first and foremost would probably just to learn, man. Because one thing you have to understand too is that with the complexities of tribal issues run so deep that even the people that have dedicated their entire lives to it are still learning things that are brand new about the situations, and there's new things always popping up. So it's just something you have to kind of grapple with, that you're never going to fully understand, but that shouldn't deter you from understanding it, because if you get into that mindset where it deters you away from it, then you're essentially participating in the essential colonization, the continued colonization of Indigenous people. So again, like I said, I think it first starts with education. Then once people get educated, they can then take action. Because I think that's important too. Is if we take action, man, it has to be the right direction. You know what I'm saying? You can't just take action against what you think might be the problem, but then find out that that wasn't the problem. That was a side branch of another problem. Because that's the thing about, again, with tribal issues is, man, it's circular, bro. Like, it's circular, you know what I mean? Where it's like, it's one issue leads to another issue, leads to another issue, and then that branches off, leads to another issue, and then sure thing you're back at the beginning again with that first issue you started with. So that's all I would say really is where it should start. What about you?
We agree with you on that. The whole thing. Yeah, dude.
That was well put. No, definitely. Yeah.
You guys fucking say shit, dude. You got it.
Alternatively, outside of Tempe, I don't feel like Arizona has its own architecture style. It's just a very bland and boring. And I feel like the desert needs to be colorful, needs to be ambitious, and we just don't do that. We don't make enough of a statement here, and I feel like we lose a lot of community from that. I can't really think of much else, but
well, I would have to agree with that. I mean, one of the biggest problems, and it's an aesthetic one. But with Arizona, it's it's quite literally we just don't know how to appreciate the desert here.
I think gentrification, that is a big thing.
Gentrification?
In Phoenix, yeah.
Yeah.
All the poor people are being kicked out, and they're not building high density housing.
Yeah.
And they're just building bigger houses, which can only house one family unit. So they're just kicking out all the poor people, and they have really no place to go.
Where do you see it the most?
Downtown. Yeah, downtown, uptown, and midtown.
Okay.
It's really bad.
All the towns?
All the towns. Yeah, just up Central. Go up and down Central, and it's awful.
Anywhere where the light rail follows, it seems
Anywhere where the light rail follows, yeah. Exactly.
That's where you see all the premium apartments.
Yeah, that's true. It goes all the way to Mesa, Tempe.
Yeah.
And it goes,
So are you usually riding your bike on the street then, on the road, and,
I
and
ride
never
on the
side?
street all the time.
Okay.
All the time. I never ride on the sidewalk. Unless there's some areas that you can't ride on the street, you
Yeah.
get on the sidewalk. But more than that, there's a bike lane. Follow the bike lane. Follow the rule. Follow the car rule. That's all I care about because I want Phoenix bike like Oregon bicycle
Right.
rule. That's what I want.
No, I'm in complete agreement. We're from Tempe, and there's just no bike infrastructure there. Like, you have like the small little like bike lanes, and then if you try to ride on the street, it's really hard because like it's like the major cross streets. It's University and Rural Road. So usually people don't even know that you have rights as a biker to be biking on the street, and they sort of just like they'll either honk at you or they'll like swerve like unnecessarily. And even if you're on the sidewalks, if they're turning in or if they're coming out, they just do it super haphazardly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. So a lot of people need to focus. And even in Arizona, there's a high rate of car accidents because people go through the yellow light.
Yeah.
Because yellow light becomes green light right away. So, bam, here you are. So,
Exactly.
Go through yellow light. Stop at yellow light, period.
And I just had a problem with like the first thing that like the city decided to do was to add a light rail down there, right? And it's like that's cool and all, but like there's so many other things you could do with that money. You know, you could help fix up roads, you can fix sidewalks. You know, you can maybe, I don't know, put that money towards the community. You know, because that's what people need. The people down there don't need they don't need a light rail. You know, because a lot of them don't really have a need to like go far outside of South Phoenix. You know, they have like their needs are their needs are very different than that. You know, it's just I wish that they would, you know, go into the community, find out what it really needs, you know, and cater to that instead of just thinking, oh, you know, we could put a light rail down there. I'm sure someone would use it, you know.
It's no one's fault. Like, no one's taught it. Schools don't teach you that. They don't teach you to be mindful. They don't teach you to be thoughtful. They don't teach you to pay attention to others. You kind of get put in a situation where, like, if you're shy, you could really build on that. And if you don't speak, it'll become an internal fear. And now you can't speak. As an adult, you never learn this skill. You're kind of like screwed. Say you're in a district that doesn't have money, right? You're poor. Right, somebody who is higher class or maybe has always been higher class. I mean, there's some people who really work from the ground up, but people who have never experienced that, they kind of look at the other side as dirty or like less respectable. They don't want to interact with them because of the clothes they wear, maybe the way they speak. Even if that person didn't have the same opportunities, maybe they have like different struggles. That person probably has a crazy work ethic. Like, you don't know anything about this person's character, but like, people are people. Like, it's not about what you wear, it's not about what you say.
Mosquitoes definitely in the warmer months. Lots of mosquitoes.
Yeah. You gotta watch out for those. So what you're gonna want to use is a non-repellent product to make sure you go back to where they're coming from.
And roof rats. Everybody's done with roof rats.
Yeah.
Yeah. Especially like the lower income neighborhoods where there's like abandoned houses and then they spread to all the
But I mean, they can get to anybody too. Anybody, you know, where the houses are close together. Oh, feral cats, those are a big deal. I hate those things. I love them, but I hate them. You know, just like, you're cute, just stay away from like the trash cans. So, yeah.
I also agree with Mary. Those were two things I was going to hit on too, because I think that although it's very diverse here, there is a lack of inclusion. Even like within ASU, you know, I'm from Mesa, so I'm right around the corner, and I think that one of the biggest issues that we have here is definitely like that inclusion for minorities, for women, for people in the LGBTQ community, but that's also all around the world. Education's a huge one. I grew up in Arizona, and I guess like because teachers aren't funded that well, it really does hit our education, and it hits how much we're taught and what we're taught in life. And another thing is holding people accountable in Arizona. I feel like we kind of just sweep things under the rug, and there, like I said, there is a huge diversity here, but excusing actions from people who treat minorities and women and all these people, like making excuses for them, I feel like is a big issue here. You know, you have to start holding people accountable. I think this kind of goes for the whole world. But I also agree with that question.
No, I think that was a great point made. It's hard to go into historically challenging issues that have negative feedback loops without imbuing your own biases or prejudices or your own culture, alien culture, onto a problem that either isn't just you to begin with, or you weren't a part of to begin with at all. Yeah, definitely.
And another crucial component to that, man, is a lot of what most people have to also realize is that Indigenous people aren't a monolith. You know, we're very diverse. You know, what's going on with the Ojibwe in regards to their traditions, ideologies, even their economy, man, is a lot different than what we as Navajo do. And we as Navajo do is a lot different than what the Chippewa do and what the Oklahoma tribes do, the Cherokee. You know, it all ranges, man, between, again, like I said, language, ideologies, all of that, dude. Like, we're literally just different countries within this grand country that is the United States. And a lot of people don't really realize that, man. A lot of people like to think that when we say we're native or we say we're indigenous, they just kind of box us in with everybody.
Plains.
Plains. Yep.
Yeah, all that
they think that the Plains Indians live in igloos as much as they would live in teepees. You know what I mean? Like, it's as absurd as that may sound to those that already know those differences. That's not as obvious and prevalent to everybody.
Better, some live in cities, or actually some had agriculture.
Exactly, dude. And then what I also noticed too is it gets worse when you go more towards the East Coast. It gets more colonialized once you get more towards the East Coast. And so I know that a lot of the battles that a lot of the East Coast tribes are dealing with are a lot more aggressive, egregious, and consistent than some of what we see over here in the West. And that's also participates back into the whole education thing, because a lot of those people out over there don't really understand the history of the land and the ties, you know what I'm saying, that go in with where they're living. And when I say that, I mean specifically, they don't understand what tribe was originally inhabiting there. And because of that, they don't even understand that there's more than a handful of tribes, and that they're not all on the West Coast. That they used to exist in the East Coast, except they've just been driven out, or they've been assimilated forcefully, or optionally. But yeah, so because of that, like I said, you just have a lot of the East Coast where, again, when you look at it, it's more developed than it is on the West Coast. And I think that participated in the assimilation of those cultures for sure. But they're still out there, man. They're still out there ringing strong. I know the Mohawks are still kicking. I mean, all of those Mashpee, a lot of those tribes are still kicking out there, man. They're doing their fights, but they just don't have a whole lot of support. I mean, even the Mashpee got attacked by Trump's administration. I think right around the COVID pandemic, they were trying to delegitimize their tribes so that way they could have access to the land that was put into trust for them. So that way they could obviously build upon it and develop it for whatever reasons that they wanted to do. But that just goes to show some of the ways that we have been attacked. And I mean, those aren't even in the 1800s. I mean, this is literally a couple years ago. And I mean, tomorrow there could even be a news article talking about how Governor Stitt, the governor of Oklahoma, is having more beef with the Cherokee tribe over gaming. You know what I mean? Just there's always something, man.
It's bad. A bunch of people are being kicked out, and then you either have to buy a house or move. There's no real options. And they're not. And the homeless shelters here are awful. Phoenix hates poor people. So we were me and my class, we were trying to fix a homeless shelter so that they would have more housing. And then we got shut down by the representatives that they said that they can't allow for more housing. Or not more housing, more beds in the homeless shelter, which is awful because now people have like nowhere to go.
Wait, are you in high school still?
Yeah.
Were you vouching for this?
Yeah.
Like how so? Like
we ran a campaign. I'm in charge of a club called Advocacy Club, and we were doing the Hope for Hospitality. We partnered with what are they called? Or something like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we partnered with them to try to, because all the cities around Phoenix have no infrastructure for homeless people. Like the agreement between all cities, Tempe, Mesa, Scottsdale, is that they send their homeless people to Phoenix. And Phoenix, because Phoenix has the most infrastructure to deal with them, but Phoenix is like continuously denying more housing, not more housing, but more beds in homeless shelters. And so that's why we see, I forget what street it is. but it's not in downtown. It's in South Phoenix, where there's literally just a plot of land that homeless people, they didn't invade, they just like took it because nothing was happening. And so there's just a street filled with homeless people because they have nowhere else to go. Yeah, so it's bad.
And like, what were you vouching for exactly in the homeless shelter that the representatives shot down?
We wrote up a bill that would allow for, because they had like a section of the thing that was unused. Okay. So we wrote up a bill for the House of Representatives that said that it would allow for more beds to be filled because they had the space, and we were just asking for the city of Phoenix to give us a little money to like buy the beds and just use them, and they shot it down.
And that's what they declined?
Yeah.
Wow. That is sad. That is like easily fixable things
it's like,
that we can do.
and it's not like a big change. It's just something to solve the problem meanwhile, and they just continuously shut down things. The good thing is though, actually it's nothing. Okay. They're building a bunch of high density apartments, but they're like luxury high density apartments. So the people it's gonna go to is probably like rich white people coming in from other states to just enjoy the city.
Californians, people from Chicago, any place.
And then Arizona has like a pretty good climate. Like it's winter right now and we're barely wearing any clothes. So a lot of people are moving here because there's a lot of opportunities sprouting, and it's just kicking out more people who have been here for a good amount of time.
The whole diversity thing is just like society in general, like just the way that, not necessarily that we've been taught, but that former generations have been taught. It's so ingrained in our system, and a lot of people just don't want to change it for some reason.
I agree. I think that as for like racism and that kind of thing, it's completely engraved in American society. It's engraved in other societies as well, but it's something that we're never going to escape if we don't hold people accountable. If we continue to excuse people's actions, saying that's just their opinion, that's just what they believe, that's not how it works, you know? You can't excuse someone being a bad person and mistreating someone because that's just who they are. And I think that is engraved through generations. You know, you're taught it by your parents, but luckily with like diversity within like ASU and among Arizona, hopefully people are becoming a little bit more open-minded, especially with like social media and everything.
I don't know where it's from, but there's a quote that essentially is, to believe is to understand, and to not understand is to not believe.
I almost feel like there's a real like you're obligated almost to kind of like help your fellow man out. Like if you know something and you see someone walking into a wall, a lot of people don't care, just let you fail. Like knowledge is power, right? Like areas that have money have opportunities to learn more. While I'm in college, I have an opportunity to programs and people who I know are going to be established. Like when I meet people here, I can really get a sense of people here who are going to be good. This is a great community for me to be in. Not everybody can afford college. Not everybody can get themselves out of that rut because of whatever financial situations that maybe their parents had, their grandparents had, their great-great-grandparents had because of like slavery. Like they didn't even have like a downdraft. Like, they don't have any money in their whole family, no property, nothing. So like you look at that person that doesn't have shit, like they have no knowledge. They can't convert it to power because they don't know it. They don't know shit. How can they? They can't just bullshit it. They don't know. So that's it.
Are you relaying to your own experiences when you're saying this, or is it just like upon observation or learning about it?
From other people's experiences. I'm a straight white woman, so I don't have a lot of those stories, but I definitely I've heard a lot of things from a lot of people. And just seeing it taught firsthand. It's awful. It took me a while. Once I got on social media, which is why I think it's definitely progressing, I realized how many things that were taught to me that were wrong.
I agree. I'm white, so I can't really speak on experiencing racism and that kind of thing, but growing up here, you do kind of experience it firsthand and you become a witness of it, and it's heartbreaking, and the biggest thing you can do is use your voice. That's the only thing you can do, and continue to speak out about it. And I don't know, but as a woman, you do face things like even on ASU campus, gross things that no one should experience. And so, I don't know, I think that it speaks from experience, but it also speaks from learning and from teaching yourself and from like making yourself educated, you know, forcing yourself to be in situations that you're not completely comfortable with, things that make you uncomfortable to read, because at the end of the day, that's life and you need to like learn about that.
You need to open yourself up.
Grand Canyon that would
Oh,
take
yeah.
water sources from the Humpatipie
Yep.
Falls.
Yeah.
So there is that as well, and that was pushed away due to native efforts, including not only the Humpatipie but also Navajos and Hopis. They also moved out. So we try to help out one another, but again, the only reason why that was stifled and pushed away is because the EPA had to step in, because it would have been an ecological disaster on basically the southern rim of the Grand Canyon if they kept that through. So again, there's just a lack of funding, a lack of acknowledgement, and just a lack of education, like you said.
And I mean, honestly, that time we got saved by the EPA.
Yeah.
You know, like most times that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
You know, like straight up, dude. There's been many times where we as Native people have brought up solid facts and defenses in regards to environmental damages and reasons why certain areas should be developed. I mean, the most famous one is the Dakota Access Pipeline and then Enbridge, Line 3 that just happened. I mean, a lot of these we've been fighting for, you know, but that never got stopped. And then even then, Dakota Access Pipeline got stopped temporarily by Obama, but then as soon as Trump came in office, it just went ahead, you know.
And the Black Mesa Pool.
Yeah, exactly. And so there's just been so many cases, man. I mean, we can go on for hours about all the different times throughout history we've been messed with, or we've gotten the short end of the stick, you know what I'm saying? Because in reality, that is our history.
Yeah.
That's where we come from, and then that's the reason why we as Native people are so resilient, dude. Like I have nothing but love for my people, because there's not a whole lot of communities out there that are as resilient as we are, especially in regards to dealing with the constant attacks on our sovereignty, the constant attacks on our culture, the constant attacks on our people in general. Because I mean, even violence rates against Indigenous people are higher than most other ethnicities. But all in all, man, we stay strong, we stay together. But at the end of the day, even though we're all that we essentially have is one another, we need more than that. You know, we need other people to come in, and I mean, yeah, there's always that weirdness, you know what I'm saying, where you interact with somebody and they come from a different culture, and then because you're friends with them, you know what I mean, you just adjust to that culture. And it's a culture shock, you know what I'm saying? It makes you uneasy, you know, for sure, but I guess what you really have to do is just get over that, man. Get over that. Keep putting yourself through those situations, make yourself tougher, and then get used to it, man. The community will accept you if they can identify, which they will be able to, trust me. They'll be able to identify if you're good-hearted, you have good intentions, that you're here to help the community. They can tell all of that, and if they can read that from you, they'll accept you, and we're more than happy to have you on board to help us out, man, for sure, because we need the help. We definitely need the help.
A few ways to, I guess, avoid the alienation of the other is by quite simply opening yourself up. Yeah, and I would say in most places in Arizona, that's a really difficult place to do. ASU is a great place to get over your biases and your prejudices. And when you have all this multiculturalism and all this intersectionality going on,
It's amazing.
it's absolutely amazing. But we have a lot of work to do, whether at the national level or at the state or local level. Even just at the personal level, like being able to sidestep your subconscious prejudices and really just see everybody for who they are, which is just another, I don't know what we are, another human being, whatever that means, whatever our little floating perspectives that we carry as monkeys is. This amalgamation of the human experiences. But those were beautiful answers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it. I kind of want to hit on something you said, if you don't mind me adding something in.
Of course.
Just talking about, this was something that I learned quite a few years ago. I have a really big issue with trying to see the better of everyone else and trying to see the good things and everything, but it's hard when there are bad people in the world, you know? And a really good conversation that I had with someone that I went to high school with, she was talking to me about how it's very important to not only see other people as just people, but also to notice their culture, to notice that they're different and that kind of thing. Because a lot of people tend to say like, oh, I don't see color, you know, but that's not right. That's not always correct. You know, it's important. Yeah, exactly. You know, it's beautiful that we're all different, and you can learn so many things, and you can, you know, learn about cultures without appropriating them. And I think that's one of the biggest issues, like in America and Arizona, is like I have a lot of white friends that completely like not defeat, but they appropriate the culture of, you know, Hispanics, and it's just really depressing. So it's like, that's not what you do. You can engage in it. It's beautiful. You know, the Mexican culture is beautiful, and it's depressing to me to see so many of my white folks around me that are just like ignoring that and wearing things that aren't appropriate or that kind of thing. So
It's just a lot more education. Like,
yeah, exactly. If we just continue like building on education, that would help so much. You know, embracing the diversity here and embracing like the culture and everything. So.
Yeah, culture can definitely be manipulated and utilized cheaply.
Yes.
Cheaply, especially in a capitalistic context.
Yes. Yeah.
But culture thoroughly contextualized is so goddamn beautiful.
Yes, it is. I agree.
Yeah.
Is this live? You can stream it live because it's tonight. So it might be kind of late by the time you publish it, but shoot, dang it.
No, I'm gonna have to publish it immediately then.
Yeah.
What is that actually? A cornhole tourney? Yeah. Do you want to give your organization and maybe your high school a shout out?
Brophy.
Yeah.
I do advocacy club. If you want to reach out to me to help with anything, see Espinoza22 at brophy.broncos.org.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks so much, man. Thanks so much, man. I agree. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you, bro. Yeah. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. An interview? Yeah, no worries.
What's happening?